You're listening to the Poo Podcast. My name is Dosta. Here we discuss all things poo. Please do subscribe and comment. And now, I present to you episode number 5 from season 1 on the Poo Podcast. So you know when you're a kid and adults tell you things which are not true, but there's a reason sort of why they're telling you this lie? For example, I remember when I was a kid, someone said to me, I don't know who, just that those little cotton fluff ball seeds that float around, well, they're Santa's listeners. Because as the story goes, well, Santa's making a list and he's checking who's naughty, who's nice. And, of course, the obvious rebuttal is, well, how does he know? How does he know how you are? He's not always here, he's in the North Pole. How would he find this information about you all year round? And the answer for that was, well, these little fluff seeds, they're sort of like these little white things. I don't know if you get them in all countries, but they're sort of these cotton seeds. They float around and you see them every now and then in the playground. And someone said, well, that's Santa's listener. That's how he knows. And you'd sort of see it float by it. And it sort of makes sense because those little fluff balls, they are a little bit Christmassy in the way that they look. And of course, this is not true, right? This is not what's going on with these. It's just cotton seeds floating in the wind, trying to find the perfect place to germinate. And this is a kind of thing where, well, someone's told it to you because they're misguided or they're trying to get you to behave, right? Sort of like the Santa story itself. It's just a more elaborate version or another explanation of the Santa story. And this came to mind when a friend of mine was telling me her story about something she used to do when she would do a poo. And this happened to a friend of mine, or I guess I should say, well, she is my friend. It's not really a friend of a friend, but somehow it seems natural to say it happened to a friend of mine because of this nature of the story. I don't want to implicate anybody with this story. But she was sitting around and telling us some stories about poo, and we were sharing stories about poo. And she said that when she was a kid, she used to go out into her backyard and sit on the back fence to poo. And I thought, my goodness, that's a bit extravagant, isn't it? And her logic was, well, she didn't want to ruin the backyard, right? So she would poo over the back fence. And, well, makes sense. Keep it out of the way. Keep it out of prying eyes. And she said that one day her dad came along and told her that it is possible for people to see what you are doing in the backyard. And, of course, she was just a kid and she thought, well, what do you mean? Why? How? And he took her up to one of those observatory stations where you have those sort of pay-by-coin binoculars, right? You have those things on the lever, you put your coin in and you can turn it around, and for a certain time you can look through and you sort of spy on things, and it's sort of like, oh, it's your opportunity to see what someone is doing. Is someone doing something naughty? Is something happening over there? Or can you see these things? And he sort of took her to one of these observatories, even though there wasn't one that could see her house per se, right? There was no way that this was actually going to happen. And this sort of spooked her out, and it made her realize, well, I probably shouldn't poo over the back fence. And after she'd heard this story, she sort of went around the fence to see, well, what was the damage? And she realized, oh, there's actually a very big poo stain which is occurring on this back fence from where it's been seeping down. So, well, she thought after that she should stop doing it. And of course, years later, many years later, she realized that her dad, the person that had told her that, well, people can see what you do in the backyard, that was a lie. And she realized the reason exactly why he had said that. It was to get her to stop pooing across the back fence. And I don't know, I mean, I'm sort of in two minds about this story, because the dad could have just come and thought, well, look, you're pooing over the back fence, don't do that. Right? That's like the honest, straight ahead truth to the situation. That's the sort of fact of the matter. And, well, if we just admit it and get on, then, well, we've dealt with the issue. Why do we have to have this roundabout story about going up to the observatory and seeing, well, this is what people can see with the binoculars? And yet also it's sort of like you want to save face, you know, you don't want to embarrass the kid that much to realize, well, you know, I know you've been pooing off the back fence. There is something sort of shocking in that, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, if you have kids, if it was your kid, what would you do? Are you the sort of parent that would just be really confronting with the truth? I mean, surely there's a diplomatic way around it, right? It's not an either-or black and white sort of issue to deal with. So, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like, oh, if I had kids, I would never lie to them. I would tell them only the truth. And then it's sort of like, okay, well, when you get to that situation, you think, actually, maybe I would lie to the kid. So, I don't know. If you're a parent, maybe leave a comment and see, well, I guess it depends on the situation. And poo is one of those things that can be inducive of embarrassment, particularly when you're treating it in a certain way. Thanks very much for tuning in. That's all we have for this installment. Make sure you tune in to the next episode. Hope you're having a good day. Bye for now.